Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our Week 7 fantasy football waiver wire pickups. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who you need to pick up off the wire, who you could feel comfortable dropping, and who you should probably avoid altogether. Let's get this fantasy football podcast started right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello, everyone. I am Justin. That is Kyle. And this is the Fantasy Football Upside. Thank you very much for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. We're getting right in the middle of bye week roster manipulation and the ongoing COVID crisis. So we have 4 teams on bye.
And a lot of injuries too, man. A lot of injuries out there.
A lot of injuries and a lot of just uncertainty on certain players. And then just if a game's going to happen.
Yeah,
we're right in the middle of that. But we're here to help maneuver throughout the season to help you win that championship. And with that, today we're giving you our top waiver wire ads for Week 7. What do you have for me, Kyle?
Hey guys, go ahead and click that subscribe button as well as the bell so you're notified every time that we upload the best fantasy football podcasts on the internet. And then also put a comment down there so that you can ask us who you should start, who you should sit, whether or not a guy is worth dropping to pick somebody up off the waiver wire, all those sorts of questions, because we're always out here asking. Do you need assistance? And we're more than willing to provide it, guys. So let's dive right in, head first into the shallow end here, Justin. And we're going to go through our top waiver pickups for Week 7. We're going to give you 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and 1 QB. Only 1 QB. And just as a general rule, what we use is just Yahoo's rostering numbers as a benchmark, and we won't give you anybody who's over 60% rostered. Yep. We figure if there's 4 out of 10 that are that they're not rostered, and that's still somewhat worth talking about because it's nearly 50%. So, who do you have as your running back, Justin?
Yeah, and you mentioned I'm going to have a little extra one here on the running back, and I think you have a little extra one on the tight end. But so for my first running back waiver wire, I'm looking at Boston Scott, 14% rostered. Miles Sanders looks to be out at least 1 week with a knee injury because this is a quick turnaround. They're playing Thursday night. So, I'm just looking at this based on volume, as I think Scott will get the majority of the touches over Corey Clement. So he's not done the greatest. Boston Scott has not, whenever he had to sub in for Sanders at the beginning of this year. Yep. But he too was nursing an injury. So I kind of say part of that had to do with that because we've seen what he can do. We saw what he did at the end of last year whenever he's subbing in for just Miles Sanders resting. So I think he can turn it around and be a good value. So the offensive line is still a little suspect, so they'll need to find ways to get him the ball in space to eat up some yards. I mean, the Giants' D is just okay against running backs, but I think this is going to be a pretty good waiver wire for at least a week or two. So I'm going to let you go to yours, and I'll throw in my bonus one here after you're done with yours.
Why don't you go ahead and toss in your bonus guy right now?
Okay. So bonus guy, JaMycal Hasty. So this is a 49ers running back. I want to say where he's playing because not everybody's probably heard of this guy, but he's less than 1% rostered right now. Raheem Mostert is most likely going to go on the IR with another injury. This one is a high ankle sprain. So he was just on, he wasn't on IR, but he was hurt with a knee injury. But Jeff Wilson's hurt, nursing an injury. He's very limited athletically. We've seen that. Player Profiler says that as well. Jerick McKinnon is in line for a slightly larger workload whenever it comes to Raheem going down, but I still think the 49ers want to limit of some of what he does just based off of his history. But Hasty was one of those training camp darling guys that even Shanahan was talking up and a lot of the other players were talking up. So, and whenever Mostert went down, he came in and played a decent amount compared to McKinnon.
Sure.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to give you one here. It's Justin Jackson. He's 47% rostered right now. He out-touched Josh Kelly last week, and he's gained a good amount of yards recently. He's, in my opinion, the apparent heir to Eckler's role in the offense at this point. We thought that maybe Josh Kelly would be able to manage that, but it appears that they're just not comfortable with him there yet. I don't think it's any fault of Josh Kelly other than he's just not ready.
Yeah, he's just a rookie. Yeah.
And Justin Jackson isn't bad. We've talked about it in the past where Justin Jackson has been a competitor for starting touches or heavy amount of touches in the offense. And a up until last year, really, Eckler wasn't getting the, lead dog type of touch level. So it wasn't always Eckler out there. It was always a mix of guys. And so that's why this backfield's always kind of looked like a mess to begin with. So Justin Jackson's not the greatest thing to have in your lineup because you don't exactly know what the volume is if Eckler's there. Without Eckler, it appears that he is the guy. So he needs to be rostered going forward. But I would suggest that if you are picking him up, that what you try to keep him as in your head is a flex player with running back 2 upside. That's really the basis that you have to go off of with him. All right, so let's move on here to wide receiver. What do you have here at wide receiver, Justin?
I have Keelan Cole, Jacksonville Jags. He's 29% rostered. He's coming off a week where he had 9 targets, 6 catches, 143 yards. He didn't find himself in the end zone, but based off that usage, that's only going to be a matter of time. He's been averaging just over 6 targets a game, and this is coming off the fact that DJ Chark, you and I are both pretty high on DJ Chark going in this season, and I'm telling you, he's kind of been a dud based off what a lot of people are saying. A high-end wide receiver 2 is what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah.
And then it's also Laviska Shenault has played really well. I'm not saying he hasn't, but his playing style leads to possible injuries, and they still have to try to manufacture ways to get him involved. So it's not like a consistent floor for Laviska Shenault.
Yeah.
And this scheme, or just the Jags themselves, they're going to be playing from behind. So we're fine with garbage time, yards and points. So this is fantasy football. We're not talking about real football. We're talking fantasy.
Yeah.
So we're cool with some garbage points. And that's where I think Keelan Cole might be able to do that because I think they're going to be playing from behind a decent amount.
Yep.
Yeah. Who do you got?
I have, for the second week in a row, I am telling you, go out there and pick up Tim Patrick, please.
How is he still available?
He's gonna get picked up this week in a lot of leagues, guys. You can mark it.
Write that down.
And he is currently 18% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He had his second straight 100-yard game. I unfortunately had him on my bench in our league. And that really hurt me. But I had him there because I wasn't sure what was going to happen with Drew Lock coming back.
Yeah.
There was a question about, what's that going to look like? Is he just going to be, okay, you were the favorite of the backup QB, and now you're not the favorite of the starting QB, who is the clear starter in that offense. And he had his high target level for the season. So he is obviously a key figure in the offense, not just in the eyes of that backup QB.
Yeah.
So he should have a role going forward, and that is regardless of whether or not KJ Hamler and Noah Fant are back. And it does not appear to matter who the QB is. He's just a favored target of the offense, and he keeps getting open. Jerry Jeudy's kind of unreliable is what the word is on him now. And so Tim Patrick's the guy. Run out there and get him.
You feel comfortable like a wide receiver 3 or?
I think that you can put him in the wide receiver 3 depending on what you've got there. I think that what you're hoping for is that he's going to fall into that wide receiver 3 territory as a floor is what you're hoping for. And then maybe hoping for a back end wide receiver 2 on the upside. But beyond that, I would be surprised to see him creep into the top end of wide receiver 2, let alone wide receiver 1 territory on any given week. But that's partly because I'm not a fan of that offense.
I don't know if they're a fan of their own offense, but
one thing I would mention is that with Melvin Gordon likely to miss several games here, the pass game becomes more important. I'd have to double check the schedule. I think he's got like 1 bad game and then 2 decent games coming up here as far as defenses that they face. Right. But he's been killing it. Go get him.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to tight end. What do you got?
I have Dallas Goedert. He's 41% rostered right now. And people are probably like, oh, Dallas Goedert, we haven't heard from him. Well, that's because he was out with an ankle injury, but he is supposed to come back here for week 7. So this is another Philadelphia Eagles. I just talked about Boston Scott, but now I'm talking about Dallas Goedert. But he is looking to play Thursday night. This was his first week eligible to come back. And this has to do with the fact that Zach Ertz is most likely going on IR with an ankle injury. So they're just swapping ankles right now. But once again, we've talked about this before when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, very limited offensive weapons. Yeah. So they're just starving for someone to take the mantle. And he should be able to take over that number one passing option. I think even over, fantasy darling Travis Fulgham.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have the track record that Dallas Goedert has, but you can't ignore what he's done.
Yeah.
But when
I think Fulgham loses out though when guys start getting healthy.
Absolutely.
I think that he's going to lose out. I think that's different than what Tim Patrick is doing. I think that he's been a key cog because he earned the job, whereas Fulgham's the last man standing kind of stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's just like, who do we have left? Okay. How do you say your name, boy? Fulgham. Yeah. But, I mean, when he was healthy, Dallas Goedert, when he was playing with Zach Ertz, he was outplaying Zach Ertz. Week 1, he put up 9 targets, 8 catches, 101 yards.
I've been outplaying Zach Ertz this season. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
It's not been good, man. It's not been good.
If for some reason somebody dropped him, hopefully you thought of this a week previous, but if he is still available, go grab him, especially in today's tight end world when it comes to very limited opportunities for some good production out of the tight end position.
Yep.
Who do you have, sir?
All right, I'm going to go with 2 guys in this one. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but that's because I don't have a QB because I don't think anybody's worth picking up. There's a few reasons why, and I'll explain that later. But let's run through the tight end here. I'm going to go with Trey Burton first. He's my priority ad. He's 20% rostered right now, and he is the clear tight end one in Indy's pass game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mo Alley-Cox has been shoved to the wayside, and it is Trey Burton 100%. He's gotten 11 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's being used in so many different ways. He ran one in last week, and he caught one in the end zone. This is a guy who's finally coming into what everyone expected him to be. And surprise, surprise, he's got Phillip Rivers throwing the ball to him.
Yep.
So it's a tight end situation that's going to be positive to begin with. And then add to that he and Frank Reich have history. The two of them have history, Philly special.
I think it's one of those things where Frank Reich really likes Trey Burton. I mean, he likes all his players, but he really likes him. I think he was.
I do want to make one point that Trey Burton was a quarterback in collge.
Yes, so he loves that too. Florida.
Yeah, but he doesn't meet the other criteria. But if you picked up on our code, where we're chastising booth speak. All right. So the other guy that I want to talk about here,
real quick, I wanted to go back on something with the Trey Burton as well.
Sure.
Mo Alley-Cox is nursing an injury as well. He was out this last week, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact whenever Mo Alley-Cox was out there, a lot of it has to do with the fact that Trey Burton and Jack Doyle weren't playing. So I think he might have had to be out there a lot more than what was expected, and I think we're starting to see some of the repercussions from that when it comes to his injury.
Yep.
So, but hit me with your bonus tight end, sir.
All right, my bonus tight end here for everybody who is struggling to fill that tight end role. So you should write this one down.
Write that down.
Anthony Firkser. I know it sounds like I just cursed at you, but I promise I did not. It's Firkser.
You said you weren't going to yell at me anymore, Kyle.
Firkser. Okay. Anthony Firkser. He is 1% rostered, and he's on Tennessee. And this last week, he had 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. And that all followed Jonnu Smith getting injured after his 2 targets that he had. So he has an ankle injury. Jonnu Smith does. There's a question about whether or not Smith is going to miss time. But if he does, run to the wire and get Firkser. I wouldn't spend money on him during the waiver claim period, or even priority on him. But I would keep my eye on him. And the first hint that Jonnu Smith is out, this guy is good to go, right? Because there's literally nobody else in that offense that's doing anything in the passing game right now that you can rely on other than the tight end role. And so this guy will be a value for you if Jonnu Smith is out. So run and get him if he's out.
I wonder how many podcasts are dropping Fulgham and Firkser in one episode. I mean,
I think Fulgham's a really popular ad.
It is.
I think he's been a popular ad.
You add those 2 names together. Those are. I mean,
it sounds like a really bad law firm.
Yes, we need to definitely write that one down.
Fulgham and Firkser, attorneys at law. Yeah.
Okay. So we're up next is QB, and I'm kind of cherry picking because it's just underneath that 60%. But do you want to say what you want to say about?
Sure. Let me go ahead and run through about why why I don't have one this week. Herbert's about the only thing that I would consider adding, to be completely honest. But you'd already picked him out. So sorry, you'd already picked him out. So I wasn't going to pick him out. I wasn't going to toss on there. But I didn't like anybody else. So basically, my selection is none. I can't in good conscience recommend any of them right now. There's too many bad options or big question marks. One guy that I recommended last week who I do like still is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And his numbers over the last few weeks have been great, right? I'm not recommending him because you saw what Tua did during garbage time. And the team saw that. And if they continue down the path where they are not winning games at some point, that just means Tua is going to start getting the time. And it has nothing to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick being good or bad. It'll have everything to do with Tua getting the job because that team's not going to win at some point. It's just not a good enough team. They're trotting out a guy who nobody knows is the running back, and they have one wide receiver worth using right now in fantasy football, and that's it. So that's really the only guy. I'm not a huge fan of Dalton. We recommended him last week, but that was on the basis that we didn't know what was going to happen. And for all of you who lost Dak, you got to run and grab Andy Dalton. But that offense looks like it kind of imploded on Monday night. And I'm not 100% sure it's Dalton's fault. I think it's Big Mike's fault, right? Can't imagine that one, right? Okay, so go ahead. Hit us with your QB.
So it is Justin Herbert. I know I threw in a spoiler alert there, but 55% rostered. So this is one of those unique ones where maybe you're in a league where, he's coming off a bye week. So maybe someone picked him up and then they dropped him because they had some issues, with other bye weeks or something like that. They needed a roster spot. It happens, people. It does. So, he just wasn't picked up even after a big week 5. So just keep an eye on it right now to see if he's available. But he's had 24 plus points in the 3 of the last 4 games started. He's going to get better and better, folks. He is a good athlete. So he's going to get you a decent rushing floor. Keenan Allen is a guy that he has been really honing in and targeting, and Keenan Allen's been playing really well. Well, he got knocked out of week 5 game with back spasms, but luckily it was back spasms. It wasn't anything worse than that because it sounded like much worse at the time. And
back scratcher?
But he should be back. And then, Mike Williams, whenever Keenan Allen did go down in week 5, Mike Williams finally stepped up and was looking like a top 10 pick. So, can he do that? Can he continue being a great second option with, tight end Hunter Henry? Because Mike Williams is a deep threat, but he's had someone who can't throw it deep anymore, as well as the guy we just talked about, Justin Herbert. He can throw a decent looking ball. That is actually a really nice, him and Aaron Rodgers have like a really nice tight spiral. I really like seeing the ball come out of their hands, but that sounded weird. But that's the only, like you said, that's like the only quarterback, when it comes to under 60% rostered, that we really feel comfortable saying, go pick him up.
It's just not the time.
This is a really good one.
All right, guys. So that's going to be it for our waiver wires pickups here on week 7. So make sure that you run and see who you can grab out of this if you need something. But make sure that you watch and see who's dropped, because you can make some moves really quick thereafter. It looks like we're going to have a normal schedule for the week, because it looks like it's a normal schedule so far for the week. Yeah, fingers crossed. Nothing's going to move. Nothing will move. But we don't know. We've gotten a couple of good subscriptions lately, guys. So thank you for signing up with us. Keep it here with us all season long. We will provide you all of the assistance that we can, because we are always asking. Do you need assistance? And make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you click that bell so you're notified every time we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. I will put last week's waiver wire episode up on the screen right now for you. Thanks for being a fan of the upside, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you guys.